So one of the big series I've been asked a lot about in the last year is Gachiakuta. And this is something that I actually finished watching over the holidays, and it's interesting. This is a shonen series from a magazine outside Shonen Jump, and I think one of the reasons that's interesting is because that a lot of the time when you get these non-Shonen Jump shonen series, they're able to do things that are like coloring outside the lines a little bit in terms of like what shonen is and how the storytelling works. Shonen Jump, for the most part, I mean, the second I say this, I can think of like 8 different examples to the contrary. But for the most part, it's a magazine that focuses very much on like positivity and friendship and kind of all this kind of stuff, even if it does have series that get really dark. And then sometimes when you get shonen from outside that wheelhouse, it's like, oh, those rules don't really apply, and there's some kind of interesting things going on here. And that's definitely how Gachiakuta feels like nearly straight away. It's this story about this real fucking angry little dude. Like, this is definitely a little teenager who would have like corn posters covering his bedroom. And I say that as someone who's watched the video to Freak on a Leash maybe 800 times. So I get it. This is an edgy little boy for edgy little boys and girls, and I approve of that 100%. His whole idea is that he lives in this like sphere, like this kind of sky place, and this like sky island is broken into 2 halves. You have like the really, really rich and important sky people, and then you have like the dregs, the kind of garbage people, and Rudo is one of the garbage people. And I won't give away more than I have to about the plot, but we'll just say shit goes wrong, and Rudo gets accused of some stuff and gets basically dropped into a giant hole to kill him, and he wakes up on the garbage planet below Sphera. I just realized I've been saying Sphera instead of Sphere. Sphera is the planet from Final Fantasy X. Fox, leave this in. Let people witness my mistake. Let them judge me. So the surface of this world is where basically all the garbage from the sky people goes, and it's here we're kind of introduced to like this kind of how, like, what the central conceit of like Gachiakuta as like a shonen is. And it is that your powers come from objects that you really care about and have taken care of. So with Rudo, he has this pair of gloves. His hands are all fucked up, and his like mentor basically gave him these gloves to protect his hands. And since then, Rudo has like just like really taken care of them and oiled them and like kept them in great condition. And so what that means is that these gloves have become like his special item, his kind of superpower. And I think this is a kind of interesting way to kind of handle powers in shonen, because like it's not just like, oh, this guy was born with fire blood. It's like, why does this person care about this umbrella so much? What does this umbrella signify to them? How is that part of their history? And so it's like, every time you see a new character and you see their item, it is like, oh, there's already like a little bit of character building happening, and like I really appreciate that. But when I talk about like a shonen outside of Jump feeling different, I think Rudo is definitely that, because there's moments in the series where he does villainous things and he lets like his anger and his hatred towards the sky people really kind of take hold of him. And he's enjoyable. I think like he's maybe not anything you haven't super seen before, but like he is like a decently done like edgy version of like that character type. And the way he's able to use his gloves is that basically he has like this fucking like mega nuke power in this world, and that is he can pretty much pick up any object and turn it into a special object. And I was like, wow, that seems like crazy overpowered compared to this world. And it kind of is, but it's interesting as well, because it means like Rudo is working with a different dynamic every fight, and it's like he has to figure out whatever special objects are around, he has to figure out how to use them as well as what his enemy is doing. And so there's kind of a lot going on in like any one of Rudo's fights, and it works. It's actually cool. One of my favorites was he picked up a keyboard, and when he started typing on the keyboard, he was able to input coordinates of someone and basically nuke them with giant keys. And I just thought that was really, really cool. Here he meets 2 of the main side characters, Zanko and Riho, and I would say I liked both these guys quite a bit. Zanko is like this very like buttoned up kind of like combat monk sort of guy, and it's his job to like show Rudo the ropes and teach him how this world works. And he's pretty fun. Like he's a good contrast to Rudo, and he has a good rivalry with another character I'll get into later. And then Riho is just like, I can't really think of any way to describe her other than just she's cool girl. And that might sound dismissive, but she actually kind of pulls it off. Like, she's actually just kind of fucking chill, and I always, like, just, you know, enjoy the scenes with her and, like, how casual she is about everything. She also has this, like, super sick fighting style where she has, like, a scissors is her special item, and she turns it into a giant scissors, which she, like, wraps around her leg and, like, kicks and slices with. It sounds crazy. It's fucking cool. And Zanko and Riho are part of this group called the Cleaners, and they're basically the people that keep the garbage monsters of the surface in check. And they're kind of like this sort of paramilitary force, this kind of like these kind of law enforcers who are like really there for the people, like kind of separate from what seems to be like a big governmental body, and kind of just like their own law. And I think another thing that Gachiakuta does really well is like the Cleaners, and like is this idea of like a found family. And whenever I see shit like this, I always think of, you know, the first Fast and the Furious movie, you know, that scene where the undercover cop just gets like brought into like this big family like barbecue of all these illegal street racers. It's like, that is such a fantasy, you know, that's something everyone wants, to be like basically just brought into this family and be like, hey, you're one of us now, you know what I mean? And I think there's a lot of shonen that kind of play with this idea as well. Like, you have One Piece and Fairy Tail, and I'd say this one does it actually pretty good. The Cleaners very clearly have like their own system, their own culture, and all these different things about them that make them like unique and kind of fun to be around. And like, a lot of the characters are just like these big massive caricatures that are really fun and weird. Special shout out to Greer, she absolutely fucking rules. I really love her. And yeah, it's just like really fun and cool. But I think to me the main selling point of this anime so far, and I have only watched the anime, I haven't read the manga, is that there is like a style and vibe to not just like its characters but the world around them. I became interested in this manga because I saw like some of the covers going around, some of the Tankobon covers, and I just thought each character design felt so like fresh and weird and interesting. It kind of made me feel like when I first saw Soul Eater, which is apt because the creator of Gachiakuta, Kei Orana, was actually a assistant on Fire Force, which was the series the guy who did Soul Eater did after Soul Eater. I'm kind of neutral on Fire Force, but I do enjoy that guy's stuff work generally. I think he's, you know, he does interesting stuff, even if it's not always like the top tier of shonen. And Kei Orana is actually like, she's interesting because if you look at her and you look at just like, you know, how she like dresses and styles herself, she is very clearly putting a lot of herself in this series. Like, there's a huge part of Gachiakuta is like the street fashion of all the different characters. Like, they are just fucking a stylish group of people, and you can really see that in her. Like, she's actually developed like a pretty big online following because she looks rad, and people are also super fucking weird about it as well. I don't know. But yeah, no, so it's cool. And like, then like the world itself has such a like vibe and just feeling. They got a really famous graffiti artist in to do a bunch of the actual graffiti in this world, and like, it really shows. Like, they'll just be walking along and they'll walk by this absolutely incredible piece of graffiti art, and it really just all helps sell like the fantasy of this world, because it's just easy to kind of like relax and sit back and kind of get lost in it a little bit. And like, I really love that about it. I think where like the plot really starts to kick in proper is when you get to the characters of the Raiders. And the Raiders are pretty much the bad Cleaners. Like, it's more complicated than that, but like, just for your typical shonen purpose, these are like, you know, the antagonist faction. And I believe the first member of the Raiders we meet is actually my second favorite character is Jabber. And Jabber is kind of just like this insane, battle frenzied kind of idiot. And I kind of think, like, again, and I say this a lot about this series, but it's actually, I think it's kind of its strength. You have seen characters like Jabber before if you've watched a lot of shonen, but he's just fucking cool, and he's just like stylish and really commits to the bit, and just like very unhinged and very dangerous feeling, and just a lot of fun. Him and Zanko actually have like some really great fights. And just in general, their rivalry is one of the parts that's really keeping me invested. My actual favorite character in this is Engine. I think Engine is kind of fucking amazing. He is that really, like, chill, older brother shonen character. He's a Gojo, he's a Takamura, he's that ultra-powered, like, older brother protector, and, like, he's not quite, like, the, like, world-devouring phenom that either of those other two characters are. Like, there are people above him in this world, but he is just really fucking cool. And one of my favorite parts of the show is actually just when he takes Rudo aside and he just kind of, he gives Rudo like a talking to, and he's kind of like a kind of supportive older brother. Listen, you kind of fucked up there, and it's okay. I fuck up too sometimes, and you know, it's hard, but like, you'll get over it. And I think it's moments like that where there is like a kind of, even though this can be like quite an edgy series, there is like a kind of tenderness to parts of it like that make me feel like, oh no, this has something to say, and like this is really kind of going somewhere. In terms of like the fights themselves, I would say the battles are okay. I would say they're maybe slightly above average. I wouldn't say any of them is anything amazing. I think they're really heavily based on like the gimmick of their special item. Sometimes I think, to me, the gimmick of the special item, it nearly overshadows the conflict itself, and it becomes kind of like I think some of the fights really get dragged down with that, and I would say especially in the second half of the anime, which is it's the first real arc against like the Raiders, like real team battle. Everyone pairs off into like, you know, their one-on-one duels and goes. Some of them are great, and some of them I just felt like I was waiting for them to kick in the like entire time. That was a little disappointing, but it wasn't enough to really like kill my enthusiasm for the series, because I do think this is like a really fun series, and I think it's a pretty solid adaptation. It's difficult, right? Because I feel like 10 years ago, you would look at this as a really great adaptation. But of course, we live in the age of the super anime adaptation now. You have stuff like Demon Slayer, Jujutsu Kaisen, just whatever else. And it doesn't come close to like ever hitting like the level of like, you know, art direction or animation of either of those series. But that doesn't mean it's not really solid, and that it doesn't feel like it's doing a decent amount of justice to the manga. That's how I feel, having not read the manga at least. But I think, to me, maybe like Gachiakuta doesn't actually need to have like a super in-depth battle system with lots of like battle psychology or anything else, because I think the parts of this show that really shine to me are the parts that make it like different from other stuff as opposed to like the same. So I won't spoil which battle it is, but there is a battle, and it's not a bad one. It's pretty good. It's two characters, and they're really going back and forth, and it's one of those like, it's a real seesaw battle where like, you know, this character has an edge for a couple of minutes, then this character finds a way to counter that, and it's like back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and it's cool. Like, it was actually, I was really enjoying it. And then one character just takes out a gun and shoots the other, and that's the end of the battle. And I was like, whoa, okay. I don't know that I've ever seen a shonen battle end exactly like that. And I think it actually really suited like Gachiakuta's like grittier tone. And I think it was also a moment that made me think about like, okay, like, what do I want from this series, and like, where is it going, and what can it do in the future? And I think right now I feel like the worlds, the characters, like, I'm kind of invested in all of them, and I kind of just want to see more of all of them. I want to see more Riho, I want to see more Zanko, but that moment with the pistol, I felt like there was just such a brutality to that, and there was such a hard edge to it. And in particular, what it said about the character that did it, like, it's really kind of out of nowhere, but in like a really cool way. And I want to learn more about them, which I think we're definitely going to get. But I also think like this series is going to have it's going to fare way better going that direction and being kind of this weirder, kind of darker, more stylish kind of shonen thing than trying to like be like the the typical like quite wholesome shonen. So yeah, I've been really enjoying it. I would give it a like, yep, this is pretty good. This is pretty good. I had a good time with this. I'd be really curious to what people who are following the manga think of it and like just where it's at, because I have no idea. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Gachiakuta. Thank you for watching my anime video. See, I still talk about anime.